like the oldest two.
43 inches.
Ah,
Asus.
I got you.
Yeah, but they bump up the price again.
What's the price now?
$869.
Nice.
Amazon.
Yeah, but it was $699.
Huh. Throw the link on our chat. I want to see.
Yeah.
I am not seeing our live preview for some reason. Give me a second.
It's probably doing what it did before.
Pretty much. Yep. We are nice and live. Wow. Yeah. I had to mute the thing.
I gotta change the.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. It's the ROG Strix panel. I got the ROG Swift panel, which is like 1 inch smaller.
That's what she said.
What?
Oh yeah. The design is the design's the same though. Definitely. The back panel's white. The base that you hook onto it is the same, and it's got that little LED, like red LED projector that projects the Republic of Gamers logo onto your desk. I actually don't use that.
Yeah, I have it in my monitor, but because I have it on a stand, they don't.
Gotcha.
It's off.
Yeah. Yeah, the price has still come down since
you got it.
Since I got mine. Because mine was just shy of $1,000 when I bought it.
Yeah, it's a little high. Maybe when they come out with the next one, it's gonna.
Okay. And now this makes sense. The Strix, the Strix panel is AMD FreeSync, but the Swift panel is
G-Sync.
G-Sync, yeah.
Gotcha.
Brain lag.
Yeah, I didn't see the other one.
Let me see.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I showered today.
I say that all the time. All right, I'm gonna start this.
Holy shit.
What?
Looks like the one. Oh no, this is a completely new one.
The one I sent you?
No, the Swift. There's a new one out. It's almost it's a little over $1,100.
Jesus Christ.
It's ridiculous, but yeah. No, this is brand new.
Oh, because it's an OLED?
Yep.
Then they have a 27.
And we are going to be talking about fucking Disney. I'm so sorry. We went to See, Lola, I started. So yeah, man. Today we are going to be talking about MegaCon.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, but who the hell cares about wildlife anyway?
Right. And we are going to be talking about fucking Disney. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Nerd Archive podcast. With me, as always, I have Lola, Justin, Yadi, and my name is Lewis. And we're going to be talking about Blue Beetle. Why Blue Beetle? Because not the movie itself, but why it flopped on theaters, but it's killing it on streaming right now. So stay tuned for that. But before anything else, we are going to have a previously on.
Woo!
Yee.
Ah.
Lola.
What's going on, nerds? This is Ryan. So you might have noticed there was no episode last week. That's because Lewis's computer crashed harder than Paul Walker in the passenger seat of a Porsche. That reminds me. Happy birthday, Lewis. Anyways, previously on the Nerd Archive podcast, the nerds had Chris on from the No New Friends podcast. I was a little confused at first. I thought the nerds were working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and helping kids with diabetes. Turns out it was just Chris. The nerds talked about the Game of the Year nominees. I was a little surprised that Jedi Survivor wasn't on the list. I'm still waiting on Lewis's review of the PC version of that game. Chris says he never plays games all the way through. He isn't kidding. He never did finish that basketball game with those 13-year-olds back in June. Lola and Justin talk about what books they're enjoying. Well, that makes sense since they're the only two hosts on the podcast that know how to read. And finally, Lewis fails to win the Nerdy Quote game again. The Nerdy Quote game might be my nominee for the best game of the year. Anyways, let's see what the nerds get into this week.
Hey.
Thank you, Ryan. And I know that Justin appreciates that. And I do
Goddamn right.
I do not. And I know how to read. Read. I don't know.
Liar!
It is what it is.
Books with pictures.
Yeah. That's why I read comic books. Sometimes.
All of it?
Lots of pictures and small words.
Small sentences.
Small sentences. I like
Short
the ones that
sentences.
say, Kung.
Hey,
Pow.
you understood the
Pump.
message, did you not?
I did. Hey, listen. It is, like I said, it is what it is. I love comic books, but I say that and I bought like 20 comic books in the last year. I have not read one. And, well, life gets in the way. It is what it is. That's
As
the
it
day-
does.
That's the word for today. It is what it is.
There you
Or
go.
Phrase, I guess. So, Blue Beetle flopped drastically on theaters, but it is number 1 on streaming right now since it came out last week. First of all, Yadi said on the chat that is the best DC movie that has come out. And I agree. That movie had me from the get-go. Like, what is happening? And it was filmed in Puerto Rico, some parts. And without spoiling anything, because Justin hasn't seen it yet, the city that they're in is supposed to it's obviously like all DC cities, they're based on an actual city and a state, but they're named something different, which is weird because sometimes you'll like, I don't know if it's lately, but in like the animated movies they actually reference real cities. So it's iffy. Like Gotham
It's just
City.
not confusing.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
Like Gotham City is supposed to be Chicago, and then Metropolis is supposed to be New York City. So what's the name of the Blue Beetle?
Palmyra City.
Right. And it's supposed to be Miami. But
Hmm.
the city part is supposed to be Miami. But when they go into the quote unquote hood, it's literally Puerto Rico. It was filmed in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
So it's because when we enter the city, there's obviously buildings that are like CGI and things like that, but the premise of the city is Miami. And I have said the word city so much in this
Mm.
beginning sentence. It is what it is.
It's so good. It's so good.
But seen George Lopez.
That
in
was
this
a great
movie.
character.
His character is fantastic, and the weird part is that when the movie starts, you think that his character is just a side character, and they develop his character throughout the movie, and it's almost a secondary main character.
Yeah, I
Plus,
think they
he
did a good job with him. Obviously, he's a comedian, but
right,
um, his character itself reminds me of so many conehead people.
yeah,
You know, it, out there, like it's too much like reality.
right.
There's too many people like that.
The movie was fantastic. That the way that they developed the storyline was great. Like it, I didn't feel like there was a plot hole somewhere.
Right, me neither. Like it's entertaining from start
Right.
to finish.
Right. And they break down that there's I almost gave something away for Justin. There's some characters that they bring back, and it's just seeing the villain was old school comic book is this rich person that just wants to make herself richer and control everything. It's almost like her role is like the Hammer Industries in Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Like literally
I see that, yeah. Yep.
is this is not a giveaway, but her trying to build this suit to like give it to the military, but at the same time it's for her to make money. But by doing like I don't know, like fishy shit, like sketchy shit. It's interesting. It's literally almost like Iron Man 2. So
Gotcha. So you have so basically to put it this way, you have like a Justin Hammer on the surface, but under the surface, kind of pulling the strings, you got a Ivan Vanko.
pretty much.
There's that surface level shit, but then you have that like ulterior motives and like I'm just in it for myself and fuck everyone else.
Right.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what it is. And seeing the suit, listen, the part that, and obviously we see this in the trailer, when he gets the suit for the first time, Sarah and I were talking about it. That scene, this movie could have been a horror movie.
Yeah.
Really?
Like it looked like he was being possessed, like aggressively. Like that could have been part of like DC mixed with The Exorcist.
Really?
Yeah.
But it was so good, and the details of everything. Like it is CGI, like well made. You know,
Right.
like I didn't see any flaws. Like in Black Adam at the end. But I think, that's why I was like, this is the best movie so far from DC, just because they did work everything so well in it, and
Right.
nothing looked off. Like you were just thinking that it was legit happening because
Right.
it didn't look like it was like cheaply made. You know,
Right. So it makes me wonder, did it flop in the theaters because the fans were being petty? because
could have. There's a lot of Hispanic heritage in it, and every time there is something kind of towards like a culture, um, it's people think that it's just for those people,
right,
and I guess they don't seem interested. I mean, it didn't happen with Wakanda,
right.
but Black Panther, but I don't know.
I was gonna say it's possible they just didn't connect with the character, which is completely understandable.
That's
Well,
true. Yeah, it's not like a main character.
Yeah.
So when I asked if the fans were being petty, it was because of
the
everything that
rest
was
of the
going.
movie.
Well, what
Everything
was
that we've
going
gotten up to this
around,
point,
right,
Mhm.
and
you know,
and what everything the controversy that Warner Brothers was having, and they're like, you know what, we're not going to support you. It doesn't matter if the movie is good or not. We're not going to go watch it because, for instance, Ezra Miller, you messed up this movie. And instead of reshooting things, you still gave him the platform.
Mhm.
And we did not agree with you, so now we're gonna make you pay. So
It could have, but at least to me, I wasn't thinking of that.
right.
But I can see how other people might have.
But we also have the way that this generation is, the cancel culture. If they don't like something, they're gonna want to cancel it. They're going to go
Hashtag
against,
canceled.
right. They're going to go against it until they can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
And
It's very
one way
true.
of canceling something is by making sure they don't make money.
Hmm.
So there was a lot
Voting-
of propaganda around it.
Well, not just
I am-
that. Remember when the whole like thing with the Sonic and the way it looked, and then they bullied the company until they changed the way Sonic looked for the first one?
I wouldn't necessarily say bullied. I mean, yeah, there was some genuine like that. In that case, there were some genuine gripes with the look of Sonic, and it needed to be changed. And honestly, the way it looked when it finally released was amazing and true to the game, as it should have been. So, and you get people like Jim Carrey saying, "Oh, don't listen to the fans when they tell you to change shit." No, shut the fuck up and stay true to the goddamn source material.
Right.
Else you're not. Else you're going to find yourself in a really shitty situation. And that's why properties like that wind up failing. Is when you have people that do not give a shit about the source material, and or either don't know it or don't give a shit about it. So
I think when it came to that, they needed to listen to the fans because it
mhm.
has such a cult following. Like, it needed to be done.
Like
Blue Beetle.
You meant the Sonic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Blue Beetle is not as known. Like, obviously, it's a respectable character and it's been
Mhm.
for years, but it's not Superman, Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman. Like,
True enough.
but so there's nothing that the fans could have said because it's not like they whitewashed the characters or the actors, so they couldn't fight about that.
Not really. And but that's the thing though. This version of Blue Beetle is based on a more recent version from the comics, and
Right.
also the same version that you saw in what was that fucking game? Injustice.
Mhm.
Because he was in Injustice as well. And
That's where he
the
got the
earliest,
inspiration for the suit.
pretty much. And like the earliest versions that I remember seeing was from like the Death Superman comic, where Blue Beetle was your run of the mill white guy with a suit that didn't have any powers. He
Right.
was
Mhm.
just a guy, and he was leading. He was technically leading, I think, the Justice League at that point in that incarnation. Whereas you had like everybody else off doing their own thing.
Right. And then this version of the character, he's more in the Young Justice
Right.
than in the Justice League.
Yeah. Because I know the one you're talking about because he was in that series as well.
Right.
But yeah, this is a recent-ish version of the character, but he's still not, like you said, still not like a very well-known character. So it's not really a character that resonated well with people. And I think that was pretty much the case back then. Is like he's not really one of the bigger characters in the DC.
Right. So one of the things that people talk about in this movie is the center of it is that when big franchises like this, they want to implement other races and give the spotlight to other races. What they do is they change the character to like having Superman being black or things like that as an example. Instead of DC grabbing the superheroes that are like they're still big and they're good characters, instead of making movies about those, they just want to please the crowd and let's make sure we implement and we which is nothing wrong with it either. It's just there's so many good characters that they can use, like Blue Beetle. They wanted they did a Hispanic superhero, but instead of making Flash Hispanic, they use a Hispanic superhero. And so and George Lopez says it in the movie. Like he is our superhero because he's Hispanic. And they talk about other things revolving around that. So he's like, well, Metropolis has Superman and Batman, and this is our own like ghetto superhero.
Pretty much.
Right, which is pretty much what he says. So it's awesome to see that they implemented that mentality into a line in the movie. So recapping, the movie was fantastic. From the CGI to
the story,
the character development, casting, because it didn't feel, there's always movies that I can pick apart one or two actors and I'm like, you could have done better. But I didn't have to do that in this movie. Like everyone was perfect for their parts.
And I like that they didn't have like a major name that called to, call an audience and people went to see it just because of an actor.
Right.
In this case, everybody complemented each other pretty well.
Right.
I mean, I think the biggest name was George Lopez.
And the
Solo,
villain, she's
an older, I mean, the younger than generation,
right.
it's not going to know much of her. I remember little movies that I've seen her. Because, again, I don't know a lot of actors by their names and whatnot because I could care less. But at least like with Solo, he is growing. Like, he came from the Cobra Kai.
Right.
And he's done other movies, but at least that's where people know him from.
Sometimes it's a good thing when they don't have like really big names and you let some of these up and comers shine on their own and, let them tell their stories. And then, obviously with with Blue Beetle, you're telling the story of a lesser known superhero, as it were. And, I bought the movie, by the way. I'm going to be watching that soon.
You just bought it?
I literally, while we were talking about it, and when you were on your part, Lewis, I literally got on and I was listening to you, and then I just like, fuck it, I'm buying the movie and I'm gonna watch it either tonight or tomorrow.
So you'll come back to the comments on this, and you're gonna write a synopsis of what you thought of the movie.
Probably not, but
It's a 1,000-word
We
essay.
give you homework.
That's funny.
Hmm.
So I know that Yadi, you think is this your favorite DC movie?
Besides, I mean, I'm an all-time Batman, kind of guy, so
Mm.
besides that, yes.
Okay. Lola, you watched it, right?
I did not. But
All right,
Wonder
turn
Woman
this
was
thing
pretty
off.
good. I mean, I did say it before we started recording. You guys just don't listen to me as per usual, but that's fine.
Your mic was muted.
What'd she say? I wasn't listening.
I said, "Yeah, mums." No, I'm gonna.
Wonder Woman wasn't bad.
I liked Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was really good, in my opinion.
1984 was terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just
the
talking
first
about
one
the
was
first
really
one.
good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno, which is the second one.
And talking about that, that's another movie that was great casting. Like the first one. There's some things obviously that could have done better, but the movie overall was great.
Mhm.
I think it was the movie that kind of brought back the fans to the DC movies.
Yeah,
They fell back,
yeah.
Pretty much.
but
Quickly.
yeah.
The DCEU has been largely hit or miss, with a lot more misses.
Yeah, we can probably with one hand count the good movies.
Mm.
And Yadi disagrees with me. You don't like Man of Steel.
No.
And it's I completely understand why, because it has its weird moments. But I think that after the last Superman that we got, Superman Returns, I think it was a good comeback.
Mm.
Just like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
But oh man, I cracked myself up. Now I lost.
They said that you like a good comeback,
Yeah.
just like in
No, but I want to say that Blue Beetle is one, but that's more of a DCU, I think. Not DCEU. So we're going to keep that out. You're going to hate me for this, but I kind of like Batman versus Superman. I liked it. It was a good action movie. Should have
was,
they been able
good.
to not go to my mom's name is Martha.
Yeah,
Mm.
Okay,
it's really good until that point, and then you just ruin the entire thing
I
because
agree.
of that one line.
But the good thing is at the end, so you can watch the whole movie
And
be
then stop
disappointed.
right before that
Yeah.
line.
For me, the thing that fucking ruined it was the way they did Doomsday.
Mm-hmm. They changed the whole story, and then they made him look weird. They could have done a lot better.
And therein lies the point that I made about fucking source material. You had this whole story built up that you could have gone with. You probably would have had to split it between more than one movie, because I don't think you can really tell that story in a couple of hours. But
You could if the rest of the plot wasn't there. Like if the movie would have been centered around that story, you could have, because they did Death of Superman, and Reign of Superman is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's the sequel to it, and is the events of what's happening after he dies.
Yep.
So that's and you get 4 different Supermen.
Yep.
So it's interesting.
Oh yeah, I've seen each of those once. To be honest, I still prefer the comic books over those, but honestly, they picked some good stories to go off of, because those were really good stories to tell.
I agree. It's funny because when it comes to like laying in bed and just winding down, and I'm not tired, and Sarah's going to sleep or she's reading her book, I always end up on Max watching the animated movies, because I want DC to succeed so bad, because they have so great material and so many great stories.
Oh, absolutely. And at this point, I mean, and it's too early to say, but I think James Gunn can pull it off, and they're in a good position. And I mean, it sucks to say it because it's at the expense of Marvel, because they're not in the best position right now because of, the obvious string of setbacks, the controversies that are, still fresh in people's minds at this point. Like, they're on a low note, and if James Gunn can capitalize on this with the DCU and really start knocking shit out of the park, it can put them back in a position, and that can ultimately force Marvel Studios to step their game up as well. Because I've said it before, and people know this, competition breeds innovation.
Right. And I think
they step up, and it forces you to do this exact same, because you want to compete, and that's what we want to see.
And I think that DC can capitalize on Marvel dropping the ball. And what's going on, Victor? Welcome in.
Hey.
Victor says, I hope there's less comedic relief and a bit of darker tone in comic book movies. I agree. I
agree.
think that I think that a mix of good storytelling that Marvel had in the past and the darker tone of DC. I think.
I mean, we have already a perfect in between, which is Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There's a lot of blood there.
No,
and a lot of comedy for sure.
Right. And here's something that I saw online, that we talk about how noble Captain America is, but he has a high kill count. Like every person, normal soldier, like a regular soldier that got hit by that shield, dead. There's no way.
Well, it's like how you were always wondering, like, if he threw that shield, that way at somebody, wouldn't that cut them in half with the force that he's using? And then they did it for that Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, okay. Yeah. Yep.
That's,
there it is.
Well, that's kind of what you would expect, like the analytical brain saying, how hard he is throwing it or could throw it. You could definitely kill somebody with that. And that was obviously, point proven with, what was it? Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely ridiculous, but that just goes back to how, like, Stan Lee does with, like, his, with his writing, as far as like the heroes go, with the exception of Deadpool, because he is extremely bloody character, and he has probably the highest kill count in any I wouldn't say hero, more anti-hero than anything else. But like his
Him and
like
Wolverine.
pretty much, yeah. But that's the thing though. They're not heroes per se, but they're not villains. They're like somewhere in the middle, like the anti-hero, like pretty
Right.
much like what we were talking about. But the way the position that Stan Lee takes is like heroes don't necessarily kill people. You will
Right.
see it from time to time, but on the whole, they're kind of holding back
Right.
because that's not like really who they are.
Right.
And then you delve into something like Invincible with Omni-Man, and that it was just ridiculous, fucking ridiculous.
Literally the first episode.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
But I mean, like with the lack of blood that Victor mentioned, it's coming from the comic books. You know, like there wasn't much there, and it was made for kids.
Right.
At the beginning.
Right. And then DC, somewhere along the line, I think it was the New 52, where they started taking a darker tone, and they started with more blood than not. And DC has always been like that, and like the movies per se. But going back to the point that you guys are talking about, how Captain America doesn't cut into anybody. I'm sorry, but someone that can hold a punch from a literal titan, I think that he can cut through somebody when he's throwing a shield.
Well, he can, but I mean,
he can literally punch
shoes.
somebody and just punch him in the chest and go straight through.
well,
He always
I mean,
held himself back.
right. I mean, yeah, you're like you were talking about, he holding back the fist of Thanos in Infinity War, or when he was holding that chopper down to try and keep it from going in what was that, the Winter Soldier, I think it was.
Yeah.
One hand on the chopper, one hand on the landing pad, and he's just sitting there holding it, and it's just like you can see the strain, and he's holding that shit still, and it's like, yeah, no, literally, if this guy was not holding back, he could kill people with just one shot.
Right.
And what's funny is like you put a lot of people like may not realize this, but one of the stronger characters that you don't see a lot really showing his strength is fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was
If he
thinking
does
of
not
that
hold
too.
back, he will fuck shit up.
Andrew Garfield, he said that he stopped
He said
pulling his
it.
punches.
Yep.
And you can see the toll that was taken on him because he was actually killing people.
Oh yeah. Well, you saw small shades of that in Civil War when he stopped that punch from Bucky Barnes, and the look on Bucky's face,
Like, what
and
the
his
fuck?
and Peter's response to that is like, "You got a metal arm," as he's holding that, and it's just like, "What the fuck is this kid like?"
And he's only been doing it for what, 6 months
Right.
at that point.
Pretty
So
much.
it makes you look at, like, it makes you think, because it in perspective, seeing a character like Spider-Man fighting Deadpool doesn't hold back, but also Deadpool has a sword or two. So a lot of his killing comes from his weapons. Obviously, he still has super strength to an effect, like to an extent.
Not really.
No,
Not
he's
really.
not that strong. But
Well,
No.
he's still stronger than the average person.
To an extent, yes.
Right.
Plus, he has that. I mean, he also has that healing ability as well.
Right.
But like, as far as matching strength with some of the bigger names, there's no way. Like,
As
he'd be
you
able to
can
get
see-
back up
Right.
after a bit, but
And he might be able to win the fight because of the stamina.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. His healing factor, and then just being able to get back up, and it's crazy. Victor in the chat, not trying to turn this into a rant, but another point: their villain selection and adaptations. They have decades worth of source material. Why do they pick what they pick sometimes?
I
That's a good
wish I had an
question.
answer for you.
Yeah. How do they go about picking villains?
In which storyline they go?
In which
how-
storyline?
Because
It's-
obviously, in like he says, there's decades, and in those
Mhm.
decades, there's different storylines for each character. And how do they go about that? That's also why we've had so many Jokers, and they're all so different because
Mhm.
they're literally different kinds of Jokers throughout the years.
Yeah.
So it's
Maybe it's by like what was the most popular as they were coming out.
you can say that, but like Marvel has so many like villains, and what we've seen is Doctor Doom, we've seen Thanos, we've seen Loki, Red Skull.
The thing is, though, we've only seen Doctor Doom in maybe two Fantastic Four movies, and he was an incredibly stripped down version of the character that we pretty much know about.
Right.
So that was like, to be honest, like, can you even count that? Well, technically you can, but come on.
Soon
I-
enough we'll count it.
And I think that the best one, the best franchise that did their villains was X-Men. And here's why. Granted, it always revolved around Magneto, but the comic books was like that. And when it wasn't Magneto, Magneto was working with them. And we saw that in the movies.
Mhm.
And he had a major role regardless if he was villain or not. He was never washed out. I think that the X-Men were good at doing that because they also included the other villains with Magneto. Like you have Mystique, and she played a big role in the first X-Men movies.
Mhm.
And you have Pyro. He was huge in as a villain for the X-Men, and so on and so forth. But then we have literally how many movies that we're fighting Loki in the MCU?
A lot.
Like he plays a major role in a lot of the movies
Mm-hmm.
as a villain. And obviously with Thor, that's his brother and he's going to have to, but his role was always a big role. And trust me, after watching the Loki series, I can see why, because they were setting up for something bigger. And I'm sure that they had this outcome of Loki when he first started.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Like going into the multiverse saga, I think they definitely had an idea of where they were going to take his character, but coming from the Infinity Saga, where he was really only a part of 3 or 4 movies, between the three Thor films, the Avengers, and I think it was like
Infinity War.
right, but I think that was like maybe the first 20 minutes before they killed him.
Yeah, but what I say with that is because we've had Loki, the god of stories, in the comic books for a while now. And obviously the storyline on that is a bit different. he actually fake his own death to be able to remake himself as something else. And he, in the comic books, like I said, he fakes his own death and then reincarnates. He's selling the story that he reincarnated as a different person, as a inside, but he's still with the same body. And he turns into the god of stories, which is what we see. So that's what I think that, because his character development, it wasn't just in the show. The show, they closed it out, but throughout the movies, you can see him changing little by little.
I think the majority of his change was, in fact, though, in the Loki series
Of
for
course.
both seasons. But I know what you're talking about with how he progressed to that in the comics as compared to the show. It's just, them having to figure out, okay, how can we bring this into live action and make it work? Because obviously, not every story in the comics, you're not going to be able to pull off everything.
Right. And the reason I say that they were probably, because you know how Kevin Feige is. He has a lot of things already thought out from the beginning. So I think that him getting killed in the Infinity War, being brought back in Endgame in 2012, but then disappearing, they were already planning on all of this. Like, his death was on, like, this is what we're gonna do. And it all started in the Infinity Saga, or in Infinity War. So that's why I think it's always been in the works, because he had a long contract.
True enough. But like I was saying, it's just like the biggest thing is figuring out how they were going to make that work and make that transition between comics and live action. And to Victor's point, time traveling and the use of multiple dimensions is a concept in the comics, yes. But them being introduced now, do you think it's a bit of a cash grab and cop out to reuse popular characters with minimal explanation? With my opinion, to answer that, with the way they're doing it now and the way they've had it up to this point, with the exception of what they've done thus far for Loki, I would say the answer is kind of yes, because they fell flat on a number of different projects thus far, and they've dropped the ball, I think, largely.
I think so too. Oh man, you frozen it.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I agree with you. I think that it's a easy way of bringing in characters. One theory that is out there right now is that with the snap from Tony, which I have a very, very good theory that I heard today about Tony and the way he died. When he snapped, that wave that snap created unlocked the mutant gene in characters. That's why there's a what?
Okay. No, I like that. That makes sense.
Right.
Kind of like Teragenesis, I think it's what it's called, but oversimplified almost.
Right. So that's the
I'm
theory that I
okay with
heard.
that. I'm not mad at that theory.
Right. So that the theory that I was just talking about, how Tony Stark dies. When Thanos and Tony meet for the first time, the interaction that Thanos has with him makes it look like Thanos has, like he's met Tony before.
Yeah, it was in his head.
Right. But he doesn't have that power. And neither does Tony. He who remains could plant those in their heads as they can see the future.
It's definitely
Okay.
possible because they never really went into detail on that. They never explained it.
Right. And
But
the
Scarlet Witch plays the image that he saw. And
right,
had
but what about
kind of that
Thanos?
connection.
I was
Right,
gonna
'cause
say,
that
doesn't
doesn't-
he have in the beginning of Avengers? Isn't he talking to like a council of alien type people?
Who is?
Thanos. He does. He's not doing this for funsies. The Battle of New
No.
York wasn't done for funsies. Like they gave him orders, and then Thanos got Loki.
Right. So he who remains, Kang.
Hmm.
When Loki asked, was it Loki? Loki asked him in the first season who he feared the most. And he paused. They never say who he was fearing. The theory is that he feared Tony. Because he was the only one that would be able to stop him, because he was the one human that was able to figure out time traveling. So he was as smart as Kang, because he was the one that figured it out. So he needed to get rid of him. So he made sure that the one way to be able to defeat Thanos was him sacrificing himself to get him out of the
basically-
picture.
Basically, like Kang was just playing this huge ass like game of chess, trying to like put everything in place so that Tony was the one eliminated from the board.
And if he was
4D
able, right, and if he was able to control time, he probably had control over the time stone. So when Doctor Strange saw all the outcomes, the only one that Kang was showing him was Tony needs to die.
But if that was the case to prevent him from traveling in time, he already had figured it out. And that's how Captain America was able to go back in time again. So they already have that technology and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I don't think Kang saw them as a threat. He saw Tony, I think, as the biggest threat. So if he remained alive at some point, it was only a matter of time before they started figuring things out and eventually found their way there.
Yeah, because Tony, once he picks something up, he can't put it down.
Pretty much. And
He
so
He put the two people that were able to destroy him against each other. Because Thanos, probably with all stones, would be able to defeat Kang. So he was able to get all the stones. Now I still need to let Tony figure it out how to get him away from the stones. So that's the theory. And actually it was less than this. I just kept thinking about shit.
So this reminded me, we might see some of the good side of Thanos in the What If.
Yes.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're getting an episode every single day for, 9 days?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I had a list of all the things for last week, but I lost it.
What's their Loki's and Thor's father's name? Jesus Christ. the
Odin?
Allfather,
Odin.
Odin. He's fighting somebody that I was excited about, but I can't remember either.
Yeah.
So,
Mm,
did you all notice who the kid was?
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. What
Ah.
he figured out his powers as a kid.
mm.
Like, what if
Right.
he could control everything
Yup.
like he did in what's the father's name?
Ego.
Ego's world.
Which is funny because we really don't get any. I don't remember what happened. Did he lose his powers? Because he never used them
Yeah.
again.
Oh yeah, no.
He
When
ki- I
Ego's
think he
planet
killed
was
He
Ego.
only
destroyed,
use it. Yeah, he
when
could
he
only
killed
use it there.
Ego, then that was all.
Gone. Okay. I couldn't remember why he wasn't using them.
Hmm.
Because he would be able to hold off Thanos. One thing that I don't know if you guys noticed this or saw a video of it in the first season of What If, when the Watcher is in between dimensions, it's like that
Mm.
glass.
Yep.
Y'all notice what the colors were in the first season?
Purple.
Purple and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all notice what the colors are in this one?
Green and blue.
Pretty much,
Green
yeah.
and blue, which are the Loki
Mhm.
colors from the tree. So they actually are continuing that. So that's awesome that they're putting that into the show. So
Oh, sorry. He's fighting. Odin is fighting Shang-Chi. Not
mhm.
Shang-Chi.
The guy, the Chang-Chi's father.
Yeah. It's not the Mandarin. That's what they call him in Iron Man 3.
Right.
I
Well,
forget his name.
that's one of
And
his aliases, the Mandarin.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, it is. You're right, but I like the explanation that he gives in the movie of like they made they made him afraid of what was it? Orange chicken or something like that.
What?
Yeah, when he's talking to Katie, there's a scene when he's like, talking about how they I forget his name too. The guy that did Extremis hired somebody to play the Mandarin, and then he just instilled fear into thousands of Americans, and basically he just made them afraid of like fake Chinese food.
Like Americanized.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
But he is fighting the Mandarin.
Yeah.
So
Did you guys see the list of the episodes names
no.
No.
I
and the
haven't.
dates? So I got them here. Sorry. So the first episode is gonna air on December 22nd.
Mhm.
That's gonna be What If Nebula joined the Nova Corps.
Ooh.
Second one, What If Peter Quill attacked Earth Mightiest Heroes? And that's probably what we saw
Yep.
when he unlocked his powers as a kid. Then What If Happy Hogan saved Christmas? And we can see that there. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? Isn't that the name of?
I don't think it is.
The fifth one is What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? I don't know who that one is, but we'll see. The sixth one is What if the Avengers assemble in 1602?
Interesting.
Which there will be a game of the older Black Panther or the original Black Panther, I think.
Yeah.
Seventh, what if Hela found the 10 rings? Ooh, that would be destructive.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
Holy shit.
That's gonna be fun.
Then the eighth one is a what if Kahori reshaped the world? Not familiar with that one.
Kahori, is that the native lady that they show?
Oh,
in it?
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Victor in the chat has a theory. Justin Hammer, one of the Iron Man villains, will have a role in designing the Sentinels. He is rumored to be in the Ironheart series. Would make sense as he's a wealthy tech guy.
That'd be interesting.
It would.
Full circle.
The Sentinels from X-Men?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the last one is what if Strange Supreme intervene? So this is definitely gonna follow the first season. I like how at the beginning they make it seem like like they're all separate stories, and at the end they come together. So they're doing the same on this one, which obviously we know, but it's so cool.
Yeah, this show is gonna be crazy. Because like you said,
because they can do whatever,
right?
So what if
the first season, I did not like it until I watched the last episode, and I'm like, this show was great.
Yeah.
This show was great.
After seeing what they build towards that culmination, the whole thing just makes so much more sense.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys have anything else so we can jump into the nerd quote of the week if you have it?
Yeah, I do.
Fantastic. I was hoping you were going to say, well, we didn't know we were going to record today, so I didn't grab it.
I knew damn well we were going to record today because even if you weren't able to, I wasn't missing a second week in a row.
Well, I am here.
Although last week was fun.
Yeah. You got to play some Dead by Daylight. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, while you guys were doing that, I was frustrated with my PC. So I'm glad that you guys have fun.
We were having fun and you were grounded.
It's crying in the corner.
Yeah. It's how technology works sometimes, man. What can you do? All right. So are we ready for this?
Just do it!
Well, since I got the go-ahead from you, Yachty, well, guess what?
What's up, bitches?
There you go. Yes, it's that time once again, folks. Time to test the host's nerdy knowledge with this week's
nerdy quote of the week.
And yes, I pressed the wrong button on purpose.
Okay.
On purpose.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I chose the quote before I knew what exactly we were talking about this week. And so I decided to go with a Wizarding World quote this week. So let's see how y'all hold up for that one. All right. I would say this one should be simple, but
who knows?
We don't really talk about Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts in the Wizarding World all that much, but yeah. All right. So here we go. Fame is a fickle friend, Harry. Celebrity is as celebrity does. Remember that.
I say...
Can you repeat it in a sentence?
I knew that was coming. Fame is a fickle friend, Harry. Celebrity is as celebrity does. Remember that.
Lola, what do you think?
I know what it is.
Is it Dumbledore in Chambers of Secret? Chamber of Secret? Yeah.
Is that your answer, Yachty?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, that's Yachty.
Louis.
Fuck, come on. I don't know.
Pick a character.
I don't know why my brain is going to Mrs. Weasley. And it's the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay,
It's my
there's
favorite
Lewis.
movie, so I just go to it, even if I don't.
It's Gilderoy Lockhart in Chamber of Secrets.
All right, and there's Lola. All right, so everybody's guesses are locked in. And that quote was stated by Gilderoy Lockhart in the movie Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, I was gonna
about it.
say
Yachty
so
got
close.
1 point. Yachty got 1 point for the movie. Lola got 2 points. And Lewis is gone. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I expected that. I expected that because, like I said, we don't really discuss the Wizarding World too much. So, and what's weird is I was actually just watching that movie earlier while I was eating dinner.
That's why you chose it.
That's why you.
I was
chose it.
I was picturing
Not
the end
really,
of the movie.
Not really. I just picked that one out of my list, and I'm like, wait, I fucking just watched this. All right, well, fuck it, let's go with it. And
This is the season to watch Harry Potter. Halloween
is.
through Christmas is.
there you go.
Hey,
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
pull a Kanye West real quick. I'm gonna let you finish, but before Travis, welcome in.
Travis Mitchell, welcome aboard. All right. So that does it for this one. At the end of this round, the scores stand at Lola with 49 points, Yadi with close behind, sort of close behind with 42 points, and Lewis holding up the rear with 39 points.
I got
Almost
one.
40.
Who said this?
No, I am your father.
That was Darth Revan in.
Your mom last week.
How the turntables.
I'm gonna pull a Ryan and say Chewie in the Christmas special.
Everybody gets sit point this week, so
All right. Well, there we go. That does it for this week.
All right, if you guys don't have anything else, we have reached the end of our episode. I know that it looked like we talked about Blue Beetle, but we did. Even
We
though
did.
we always switch to Marvel when we talk about DC, so don't worry about it. Travis, thank you for joining us. It's unfortunate that you joined us at the end. I feel like it was a very good conversation about DC and Marvel. So, with that being said, thank you guys. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you go on our website, thenerdarchive.com, to find all of our episodes, and make sure you get your merch before they go. They are, if you're a nerd, you're gonna love it. If you're not a nerd, you're gonna love it. So just get them. Nerdarchive.com. Hit that shop button, and you can order them right there from the website. You don't have to go anywhere else. And make sure you go on our social media, and everything's in the description down below. And if you're listening on Spotify, everything's down there.
Click all the things.
damn.
Just like Justin said, I'm gonna hear that in my dreams. Once again, this was Lola, Yadi, Justin. My name is Lewis. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Deuces.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I don't have it still.